Preparing for his burnout, this is Gary Beck, driving for his team owner, Larry Miner. The choice of lanes in this race went to Joe Amato, and he picked the lane furthest from the camera. Amato earned the right to make that choice by having the lower elapsed time of these two cars in the first round of competition. As you can see, Amato is using one of the full canopies over the roll cage. That innovation, pioneered by Don Garlits, being used by many racers to cut down on the noise and allow them better concentration. Let's go to Steve Evans.
Well, for Gary Ormsby, a 5:53 will put him in the semifinal round. Gary, good job.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, it fell off a little bit out there in the middle, it seemed like to me. Left pretty good, but I think it got loose on me out there a little bit.
A little bit of bad news for you. You're going to race Dick LaHaye, who just ran a 5:40.
Yeah, I saw that. I watched it from the line.
Steve, it doesn't seem to bother Ormsby much when he watched Dick LaHaye disappear down that racetrack. Back on the starting line, Gary Beck, who was a world champion in 1983 and also way back in 1974, finished in the 7th spot in the world points chase last year, while Joe Amato finished in the number 2 position, coming off his world championship performance in 1984. Both drivers inch their cars forward into those light beams. When they are properly staged, the starting device is activated, there is a flash of yellow and then a green light. And Beck just drives away from Amato. Some possible problems for Joe Amato because Gary Beck, by multiple car lengths, advances to the semifinals, 5.63 seconds. His speed, 251 miles an hour. Amato plagued with problems at 6.08 seconds, well off the pace. This is 24-year-old Darrell Gwynn, the most recent winner on the NHRA Championship event trail, picking up the title at the Grand Nationals in Canada. His competition, Jerry Marconi. Marconi driving his first ever race. In fact, he only has about 5 runs on this car. In competition, Jerry Marconi came into this field by a matter of luck. It was the misfortune of Don Garlits in the qualifying accident, putting the number 1 racer out of competition, that brought Jerry Marconi into the field. In the first round, he raced Eddie Hill, who was the number 9 qualifier. Hill was well out on Marconi, but then mechanical problems set in, and Marconi won his first ever round of racing here at the Summer Nationals.
Jerry, the way your luck is going so far, maybe you ought to go down to Atlantic City. First of all, you get in the program because Garlits crashed, and then a strange first round.
Oh, it surely was, and it's like I say, this is a whole new deal to us, and this is really about the 5th pass we've only made on the car. I just got my license 2 weeks ago, and we came out of boat racing, so Eddie Hill is another boat racer, so here we are, 2 boat racers against each other, and my luck held out.
Well, Jerry, your luck may just run out in this round as you've got Darrell Gwynn, who's already run over 272 miles an hour at this event. Gwynn, the hottest new driver in Top Fuel racing, is in the lane nearest the camera, and he puts a tremendous hole shot on Marconi. Marconi very late off the starting line, and Gwynn with a brilliant performance as Marconi continues on, and Marconi's parachutes have not opened. The car streaking down the shutdown area, beginning to bounce as Marconi hits the brakes of those huge rear tires, acting like rubber balls. It almost turns over, and Marconi puts it into the guardrail and the fence at the end of the racetrack. His wing supports, catching a tree limb as he made the turn off the racetrack, but the car stayed upright. Let's watch again as Marconi battles a bucking Bronco. You see the sparks coming off the frame rails as the car bottoms out on the asphalt. Marconi now driving on the center of the track, trying to pick the best spot. What do I do at this point, he says. The engine trying to slow the car down. He's now got all 4 wheels back on the ground, but still has a lot of speed to burn off. The car trying to make the turn, rocks up on those 2 wheels, comes back to the ground, and Marconi, heading straight for the guardrail, just nudges it. Just enough to turn him into the trees with the wing struts, and he brings the car to a halt.
Well, few drivers have ever experienced more in their very first drag race than Jerry Marconi, and here you are about 100 yards off the end of the racetrack. A little frightening.
It sure was. I don't know really what happened. We have to check. My chutes, for some reason, didn't work, and I went for the brake, and it started the thing bouncing. I knew it wasn't going to stop when it was bouncing, so I got back off it again and tried to come back on the brake easy, but it still was bouncing. And I says, well, guy, here we go. Let's start looking for a place to go, and that's what I did. I picked this grass spot here.
Any temptation to
golf ball?
Any temptation to go back to the boat after this weekend?
Not at all. That was believe it or not, I'm not that, I mean, I was scared, you know, I respect the machine, but I think we got it under control.
Looks like you got a bright future, my friend.
I think I do too. Thanks.
Well, Stevie's certainly not lacking in confidence. Here's the semifinal pairings. Darrell Gwynn has Gary Beck with Gwynn having lane choice, while the other half of the field finds Dick LaHaye racing against Gary Ormsby, and Dick LaHaye has lane choice. We'll be coming right back to Raceway Park for more exciting action from the Budweiser Summer Nationals. At the Budweiser Summer Nationals, there's lots of work going on in the family pit area of Dick LaHaye. Dick and his daughter Kim doing the work on this 2,500 horsepower engine, getting it ready for the semifinals of Top Fuel Eliminator. But on the starting line, we're set for round number 2 of Funny Cars. This is John Force. Force driving the Chevrolet Cavalier-bodied car, qualified here in the number 3 spot. He is racing against Tim Gross in a rematch of the final round of this year's Winter Nationals Championships. And as you saw on Diamond B Sports, it was Tim Gross winning that event. 1 year ago here at the Summer Nationals, Tim Gross finished in the runner-up spot to Kenny Bernstein. Gross now living in Saugus, California. John Force from Yorba Linda, California, has been in the final round of an NHRA Championship event 7 times, but has yet to win a race. Force in the near lane, Tim Gross in the far lane. A great start for both cars. It appears to be Force just barely pulling ahead. And at the finish line, by a little over the car length, John Force wins it 5.74 seconds. His speed over 254 miles an hour. That incredible string of runner-up finishes for John Force started on this racetrack. It was way back in 1979 that John Force finished in his first runner-up position. Now with his crew chief, Austin Coyle, regarded by many as one of the best fuel crew chiefs in the business, leading the Chi-Town Hustler to 2 world championships, John Force moves into the semifinals. A handshake with the defeated Tim Gross as the crew comes down to pick up John Force, take him back to the pits, and prepare that car for the semifinal round of racing. Tom Hoover's Corvette-bodied car doing the burnout across the starting line, laying down the tracks of rubber that provide the traction that propels these cars down the racetrack. Hoover from the state of Minnesota has over 2 decades of experience in Top Fuel and funny car racing. Alongside of him will be Billy Meyer from Waco, Texas, who came to this race trying out a brand new piece of technology.
The gas is for go, and the brakes are for whoa, right? Well, not necessarily. For years, the better drag racing drivers have grabbed a great big handful of brakes when they felt the rear tires lose traction, rather than getting off the accelerator pedal, losing RPM, momentum, and unloading the chassis. Well, Billy Meyer has advanced that process. His funny car is the only one equipped with a button right here on the steering wheel. Now, a push of that button applies the rear brakes through an electronic solenoid, much like the Pro Stock drivers use to lock up the front brakes during the burnout. It is mounted right on the rear axle housing. So now Billy has far more precise control over the brakes, also doesn't have to remove one hand from the steering wheel to the brake handle, and does not take a chance of maybe inadvertently releasing the parachute.
On the starting line, Billy Meyer's got some problems. They've got the fiberglass body raised. The crewman is in, working on an injector line. It could be a possible fuel leak. But they seem to also have problems getting the car to roll. Tom Hoover is backing up. He is waiting for Billy Meyer to repair his car. The crewman says, bring the body down. It appears the injector problem is solved. Now Hoover approaches the starting line, and Billy Meyer is going to stage. Incidentally, Meyer is building a new racetrack near Dallas, Texas. It's called Texas Motorplex, and USA Sports in Diamond B will be there the last weekend in September to bring you all the action of the NHRA Chief Nationals. But right now, it's round number 2 at the Summer Nationals. Tom Hoover, far lane, Billy Meyer in the near lane, and Meyer does not leave the starting line. Hoover continues on down track, trying to earn lane choice in the next round, 5.87 seconds. His speed over 252 miles an hour, but back on the starting line, it is problems for Billy Meyer. The car apparently suffering some sort of driveline failure. Meyer out of the car, taking off his helmet and fireproof sock, knowing he's going to have to wait for another day.
Well, Dave, I'm sure if Billy Meyer were down here right now, he'd like to thank this man, Tom Hoover, for being so patient on the starting line.
Yes, Billy and I talked about before the run. He's having trouble with a few guys holding him up this race. I says, no, I'll be there, Bill. So I programmed it. He had trouble, I guess, with the reverser or something. And, we got a fresh motor in the car. It's a little off yet, but we're coming around.
It's been a while since you've gone this far, the semis.
Well, that's right. It's hardball out here.
Steve, hardball it is. We just found out that it was a transmission problem on Billy Meyer's car that put him out of competition against Tom Hoover. Here is the quickest and fastest funny car in all of drag racing. The Candies and Hughes Pontiac, driven by Mark Oswald. He'll be racing the recent winner of the NHRA Cajun Nationals Championship. This is Tom McEwen. As Steve told us at the top of the show, Mark Oswald broke the elapsed time record with a run of 5.56 seconds. He is trying to back that up within 1%. On that same run, he established the fastest speed ever by a funny car at over 265 miles an hour. Oswald off the line first, and McEwen shuts the engine down. Oswald through the finish line at 5.70 seconds. Not good enough to back up the record at 255 miles an hour. But most importantly, Oswald in the Candies and Hughes car moves into the semifinals. For McEwen, his day is done. Here's the man that Oswald is trying to take the record away from. This is the reigning world champion. He is the defending Summer Nationals champion. This is Kenny Bernstein. One of the most innovative cars in all of drag racing, Kenny Bernstein's Ford Tempo, will be matched against the Dodge Daytona, owned and tuned by Roland Leong, the Hawaiian, driven now by Johnny West. West qualified in the number 6 position. Steve?
Well, the record backup continues to elude Mark Oswald, but a fine 570 puts you in the semifinals.
Can't believe it went that quick. I had to let completely out of it once.
You know, it looked like it hesitated.
Yeah, I let completely out of it. You're trying to back that record up, and you know, it started shaking a little bit that time. We were fortunate to get through there.
Had you not lifted smoking tires or what?
Oh, yeah, I was getting ready to. Yeah.
You can anticipate that?
Yeah, when it starts shaking that hard, you can bet it's going to turn loose.
Okay, good job.
Thank you.
Steve, many people regard Mark Oswald as one of the premier drivers just for that reason, his ability to sense a problem. Here's Johnny West into his first season as the driver for Roland Leong and the Hawaiian, and this is Kenny Bernstein. He got a break in round number 1 when Scott Coletta, as we saw, exploded the engine in his funny car. Crew Chief Dale Armstrong making the final check of the injector, directing Bernstein into the proper spot, as does Roland Leong for his driver, Johnny West. It's all up to the drivers at this point, and reaction times off that starting line are crucial because many people say you got to win it at the starting line or your day is done. Both cars now set, waiting for that green light. And it's a good start, but Bernstein pulls ahead at the beginning and continues to extend that lead. And Bernstein wins it with a 5.67-second elapsed time. His speed over 254 miles an hour. Just a heartbeat or two behind at 5.85 seconds was Johnny West, but that computes into nearly 2 car lengths difference at the finish line. As we watch again, you see the instant lead built up by the Ford Tempo. Then as they approach the finish line, Bernstein continues to draw away from Johnny West, and it is nearly a 2-car length advantage when the cars cross the finish line. Kenny Bernstein comes out on top.
Well, a solid 567 puts away Johnny West, Kenny Bernstein, but it looked like a little flash of fire right in the lights.
Yeah, well, Dale thinks it was a clutch that went away, and I have to agree with that. I thought so inside the cockpit as I was coasting down here. A lot of noise in the back end of the engine department, and I think that's what it was.
Clutches can be as frightening as blower explosions.
Well, they can if they get real bad. Like Dale said, we had one left, and that's what it made, so you know, we'll get a new one in there and give her a shot.
So what we saw were probably sparks from inside the magnesium bell housing?
Exactly. I'm sure the bell housing and the disc inside disintegrated, and all those sparks came out from underneath. Exactly.
Okay, thanks. The safety bell housing, however, did its job containing all of those parts and pieces.
Steve, it does mean a lot of work, though, for Kenny Bernstein and his crew as they get ready for the semifinal round against Tom Hoover, with Bernstein having lane choice. The other pair in the semifinals finds Mark Oswald, the low qualifier, still trying for the record, racing against John Force. Mark Oswald with the lane choice. We'll be coming right back to the Budweiser Summer Nationals.